The Kansas City Royals finished the job this October and proved they were baseball's best by claiming their first World Series championship since 1985. So what do they need to do to stay among baseball's elite? And how can the rest of the division play catch up? I spent Friday chatting with Rhett Bollinger, a Minnesota Twins beat writer for MLB.com, to find out what will be cooking in the American League Central hot stove this winter. First of all, Rhett, we want to say good morning to you and that we're excited to welcome you to the Two-Man Advantage podcast and talk some baseball with you this morning.
Well, thank you. Happy to be on.
So, Rhett, when we look at the totality of the division, what, in your estimation, is the biggest storyline for this division this winter?
I think the big storyline is the Royals kind of keep it up. Royals, coming off the World Series win, what kind of, moves are they going to make this offseason? They've got some questions in their rotation. We've seen some teams like the Tigers kind of have a long run of success in this division. Can they get back to it? We saw an upstart team like the Twins have a good season last year. How can they build on that? The Tigers, kind of dominated that division in recent years, but the Twins kind of surprised some people coming in second place. The White Sox obviously had a big offseason last year, but what can they do to kind of fix some of their issues there? The Indians were picked by some people to win the World Series last year. That obviously didn't happen. So I think all the teams, have some optimism going into the offseason, but the big question is going to be, what team's going to do the most to help their chances next season.
Now, on Wednesday, we saw the Tigers pick up the active save leader in Francisco Rodriguez to be their new closer. Can you just tell me your initial impressions of that move and what it means for the Tigers' pitching staff?
Well, it's a big move for the Tigers. This is a team that, has really struggled with their bullpen over the last couple of years. Even in the years where they did, make the postseason and win the division, the bullpen was always kind of their weak link. And Francisco Rodriguez, people think of him as old, but he's still only 33 years old. He was an all-star each of the last two seasons. So he's still a big, addition to this bullpen. And I got to imagine the Tigers probably aren't done adding to that bullpen just because it has been such an issue for them over the last few years here. So I think it's a big addition for the Tigers and something they should definitely kind of continue to address that bullpen.
Now, for the Royals, obviously they won the World Series, and for the sixth consecutive year they've improved on their win total. But one of the big questions for them is the future of Alex Gordon. So I'm wondering if you think he'll still be a Royals blue next year or whether he'll move on.
It's a good question. It's hard to say. I think Gordon's going to command a pretty good deal here. I think before this season, Gordon was their best player. I think this year they had some breakout years from guys like Hosmer and Kane and Moustakas. But before this season, I think Gordon was their most consistent player, obviously an elite defender in left field. So I think that, the Royals would love to have him back. But they do have some options just in case he doesn't, obviously. So it's a tough call to see exactly what he's going to do because he's going to command some money. But I have a feeling that, obviously he liked it there and they'd love to have him back. It's just a matter of if Kansas City's willing to kind of pay up that kind of premium to bring him back.
Now, when we look also at the Royals, 3/5 of the rotation, when you look at Johnny Cueto, Chris Young, and Jeremy Guthrie are all free agents. So I'm wondering your thoughts, just your general thoughts on what the Royals rotation may look like next year.
Yeah, another good question. It's hard to say exactly. Obviously they're going to be out there in free agency and in the trade market looking for some pitching help. Obviously, Johnny Cueto is the big one here, being the free agent. I'm guessing he's probably not going to be back. But we could see them maybe sign a guy like Chris Young. They still have, obviously, Edison Volquez in that rotation. They could move Danny Duffy back into that rotation. So they have some options there. But, yeah, it's going to be tough for them to replace some of those guys. Especially, Cueto obviously struggled there a little bit, but still, a good arm and a guy's going to get a pretty big deal in free agency. So that's the biggest question for the Royals. I think position player-wise, outside of that Gordon issue, they're set. But I think definitely addressing their starting pitching is going to be their biggest thing this offseason.
Now, for you, I know you cover the Twins for MLB.com. So when we look at the Twins, they won 83 games last year, and certainly getting a starting pitcher that could be their ace of their staff and getting more production out of Kurt Suzuki is something the Twins will be looking for this offseason. So could you just give me a thumbnail on what you think the Twins' plan should be this offseason?
Yeah, I think the Twins, the big thing for them. Yeah, you're right. Catcher, at least, Kurt Suzuki, that's something they wanted to upgrade, but they did make their trade there to get John Ryan Murphy from the Yankees for Aaron Hicks, which was a big move for this team to have Murphy, a guy they can have, for the next 5 seasons, kind of as their catcher of the future. But this year I'll probably split some time with Suzuki. But you're right. I mean, I think the Twins would love to add an ace-type starting pitcher or number one type pitcher. The question is, I don't think they're going to pay for one. I don't think they're going to sign a guy like a David Price or a Greinke or anybody like that. Maybe not even a Zimmerman. So I think if that were to happen, it'd probably be more in a trade. I think right now the Twins' biggest concern is adding, some bullpen help. The Twins last year ranked last in the majors in strikeouts from their relievers. So I think they'd like to get some bullpen help there. But yeah, I mean, obviously a top-tier starting pitcher would be, a big addition for this team. But I think more than anything, I think bullpen help for now. And luckily, like I said, they definitely addressed catcher already. And maybe even some outfield help now that Torrey Hunter retired.
Now, when we look at Paul Molitor, his first season as full-time Twins manager, he got the people of Minnesota excited again about baseball. So could you tell me what do you think is his key to continuing his growth as a manager as he enters his second season?
I mean, he had a great first season, obviously finishing third there in the balloting for AL Manager of the Year. Really took command of that clubhouse. I mean, as a Hall of Fame player, the players really respected him. Kind of changed that culture within the clubhouse. The Twins had a lot more fun. They played a lot more loose. After wins, they had the big dance parties. So Molitor, not just that though. I mean, Molitor was a guy that prepared a lot, was prepared for every situation. Really smart guy, been around baseball his whole life. But it was his first year managing. So he said throughout the year and even after the year that he believes he could get better. There's little things he could get better at, little things he could pick up on a little bit quicker or easier, even just as simple as defending his players to the umpire a little more. There's things like that. I think he's going to get better, but he meant a lot to this team and was deservedly a strong candidate for AL Manager of the Year. And it seems like the Twins made a great hire in Molitor going forward. And he knows so many of these young guys. It's going to be key for him to kind of help guys like Miguel Sano and Byron Buxton and Eddie Rosario develop and become major core players of this team.
When we look at what's happening in Cleveland, obviously they haven't gotten the production out of players like Nick Swisher and Michael Bourne that they were hoping for. So this offseason they'll be looking for undoubtedly an impact bat to fill that void. So can you tell me where you think the Indians may turn to get that done?
You're right. They definitely need an impact bat. The Indians, especially too with Michael Brantley right now dealing with that shoulder injury. I believe he just had surgery recently. He might miss a little bit of time early in the season. So I got to figure they're going to add some sort of outfield bat out there. I mean, one idea I've seen floated around. I don't know, how much volition there is to it, but they're maybe even trading one of their starting pitchers for an outfield bat. Maybe even someone like Yasiel Puig with the Dodgers. I've seen some people talk about maybe Carlos Carrasco and for Puig, so you never know. I mean, that's a possibility. If not, they could go into free agency. But I think an impact bat's going to be a big thing for this team, especially in the outfield. I think they just signed, former Twin Shane Robinson as a fourth outfielder, but he's not that impact bat. He's more of a kind of a bench player for them. So yeah, I think whether it's in a trade, they have so much good starting pitching. I could see them maybe trading a guy like Carrasco because they have so much depth there in the rotation. That I think that might be their best way of going about it is maybe trading a pitcher for an impact bat instead of going out there and signing one on the market like Justin Upton type.
And for the White Sox, when we look at them, you made mention earlier about their big offseason that didn't pan out. So when we look at their to-do list, we look at the need for a third baseman and possibly a corner outfielder. So could you give me an idea of what the folks on the south side of Chicago can expect this offseason?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason. Like I said, last year it seemed like they kind of won the offseason, making all those big moves, getting Samardzija and getting Melky Cabrera, David Robertson. I mean, they added so many guys, last year. It was just like, okay, this team's going to maybe kind of turn the corner here. But it just didn't happen. So you're right. At third base has kind of been a black hole for them. They haven't really had anybody develop it the way they wanted to. Traded for a guy, Matt Davis, who hasn't really worked out. So yeah, it could be another trade. I mean, there's been talks. Maybe they even go into their rotation depth and maybe trade a guy like Quintana, but that would be tough because that's kind of one of the reasons why they are good, is because they do have some elite type talent. It's just more than anything, it's just adding that depth. They got to get solid regulars at, at third base and in the outfield. There's not too many great third baseman options out there in terms of free agency, so it could be another trade situation. But the White Sox definitely need to add some of that depth kind of all over the team, maybe even at second base, and add some regular starters here, because last year it kind of seemed like they had some elite players at the top, the Chris Sales and those type of players, and then the guys at the bottom, they were kind of dragging down the team a little bit, maybe even help a catcher. But it seems like there's a lot for them to kind of address. So I'm curious to see what they end up doing, or if they decide to maybe sell some of these guys, thinking maybe, okay, maybe we're not going to compete next year. But it seems like the White Sox always want to compete, so I'm kind of thinking they're probably not going to try to rebuild.
Rhett, we want to thank you for your time this morning and for chatting American League Central Baseball with us on the Two-Man Advantage podcast. It was a lot of fun, and have a great weekend, buddy.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. That was a lot of fun.